Why does Barbie never get pregnant? Because Ken comes in a different box. Did you like that joke? I actually can't take any credit for it. Someone at work told it to me and I thought it was pretty funny, so I had to share it. Welcome back to my channel, guys. If you're new here, hi, my name's Bryony and I post new videos every week, including social commentary, social media reactions, and just personal chit chats. So if that sounds good, please consider subscribing. I'd love to have you. And in this video, I wanted to have a little chat about Barbie and Ken. Last week, my husband took me to see the Barbie movie. And from here on in, I've got to warn you that there are going to be spoilers. So if you haven't seen the Barbie movie yet and you particularly hate any spoilers, maybe click out of the video now, see the movie first, and then pop back in and keep watching this video so that you can share your opinion down below in the comments. Otherwise, let's get into it. Before we actually saw the movie, we did watch a couple of reviews about it on YouTube. So going into the movie, we did know that it was going to be very feminist and it was going to have a lot of those feminist undertones, really exploring concepts of patriarchy and matriarchy, feminine gender roles, and the role of men and women in society. And I kind of feel like Barbie has always been like a feminist role model. When I think back to being a kid, and really I was the last generation of children that actually played with Barbie. Back in the 90s, Barbie had all sorts of different jobs. She was a singer, rock star, she was a doctor, she was a lawyer, she traveled and went camping. She did all of the things. There was nothing that Barbie couldn't do. And when I look back on what Ken sort of did, he didn't really seem to ever have a role. I only actually ever had one Ken doll, and it was Shaving Ken. Do you remember Shaving Ken? He had like a stubbly beard that would grow in, and it was just like a pigment on the plastic of his face. And he came with like a little razor, and you would rub the razor on his face and the pigment of his beard would disappear, and then after a few minutes it would come back again. So that was his whole gig. Basically, he was just a man that grew a beard that you got to shave. But he didn't have any kind of job or anything. Barbie was the one that always had the jobs. My favorite Barbie that I had as a kid was Hollywood hair Barbie. She had the longest hair and this really cool like pop star kind of outfit, and you could do all sorts of like colorful designs on her long hair. It would like turn pink and you could do like pink stars and stripes and all sorts of things in her hair. So that looked really cool, but the way she was dressed, I always imagined that she was like a pop star. But I never really imagined Ken as having any kind of job, which is actually kind of sad and actually kind of leads on to the theme of the movie. The movie begins in Barbie Land, and in Barbie Land, the Barbies rule everything. They have all the high power positions and jobs. They own all the houses, they own all the cars, they own and rule everything. It is a matriarchy. And the Kens, they just exist. They just exist as like a side character that are sort of, they don't really have any use, you know, and the Barbies don't really feel any use for them. And then later in the movie, Barbie and Ken visit the real world, and Ken's eyes are open to the possibility of the patriarchy. And he's so inspired by it that he takes the concept of patriarchy back to Barbie Land and basically gets all the other Kens to, you know, to take over Barbie world and turn it into a patriarchy. Hopefully you can't hear my neighbors. It's actually Sunday when I'm recording this, so everybody's home. There's someone playing really loud music. The kids in the house right next door are like yelling and running around. I can hear them stomping on the floorboards. So hopefully you can't hear any of that. I can even actually hear them moving furniture in there. Like, my neighbors are just the loudest bogans to exist on planet Earth. Obviously, they must have known that I was filming a video and they were like, let's all get together and make a fuck ton of noise. But anyway, let's try and ignore that, and hopefully you can't hear it. I have got my microphone nice and close to me, just up here. So hopefully my voice is all that that's really capturing. But anyway, back to the Barbie movie. Ultimately, I found the way that the Barbie movie explored the concepts of femininity and masculinity to be just so warped, like, and you could really see how the pendulum swung so far from, you know, Barbie land being the matriarchy to the real world being the patriarchy, and then Ken takes that back to Barbie world, and the men are in charge, and the women are sort of shown to be like brainwashed by the Kens. The Barbies are shown to be like brainwashed by the Kens into admiring them and thinking that they are the leaders, until the Barbies are like unbrainwashed basically, and the pendulum swings back the other way again, and it's the Barbies that are in charge. And throughout this whole journey between matriarchy and patriarchy, I found the way that the movie explored and showed femininity and masculinity to be actually really warped. And I kind of feel like it says a lot about femininity and masculinity today as well, like in the real world. Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie were both really amazing in the movie. They were so beautiful and amazing. They played the parts really, really well. Honestly, I couldn't imagine anyone else acting the parts of Barbie and Ken better than what they did. Ryan Gosling, oh my God, he was so beautiful in like the scenes where he had his shirt off. His body was amazing. He was literally a perfect Ken. And in the beginning of the movie, you could see that Ken was just obsessed with Barbie. Everything he did was to win the attention of Barbie, and you could see that all he wanted to do was to spend time with her. You know, there was one scene where they were having a party, like Barbie was having a party at her house, and Ken said to her, like, maybe after the party I could, you know, spend the night at your house. And she was like, why? And he was like, I don't know, because we're boyfriend and girlfriend. And she was like, sorry, it's girls' night. It's going to be girls' night every night. And you could see that Ken was just so disappointed. And throughout the movie, you continue to see him trying so hard to spend time with her, to get her attention, to get her approval, and she's forever just brushing him off. Barbie is actually really in her masculine energy throughout the whole movie. You can see that she just feels so empowered and fulfilled with everything she has, everything she does, and all of her girlfriends being around her, that she literally doesn't need Ken whatsoever. And in turn, it puts Ken into this sort of really needy, weak, sort of not very masculine vibe, where he's just, you know, forever needing and wanting her attention and affections and not getting them. And I feel like that balance is just, it's so reflective of what we see today, where even though in the movie the real world was portrayed as being a patriarchy, and a lot of people say that it is, but also in the real world where we are living right now, women are given this messaging constantly that we can have it all, that we can do it all, that we can be a girl boss. And this really puts women in our masculine energy, and in turn it forces the men around us to reflect more of the feminine energy. And that's why you get this occurrence of incels and betas and soy boys and simps that are all around us, and we as women, even though we're out here girl bossing just like Barbie in the movie, we're still longing for that masculine man to counteract that the femininity that is innate within us. You know, I feel like masculine and feminine are two polar opposites, or two equal but different halves of a whole in society. And I feel like in the Barbie movie, they were made to be so so extremely opposite sides. You know, there was the Kens versus the Barbies. There's, in the real world, there's the men versus the women, and it's almost like they are in competition or conflict with each other. And you can really see that it's causing like an unhappiness in everyone in the movie. You know, obviously the Barbies, you know, in Barbie Land, when they regain control back from the Kens, they're happy and they feel like everything is back to the way it should be. But also, when the Kens were in control in Barbie Land, the Barbies didn't look unhappy. Like, they were holding hands with the Kens. They thought the Kens were amazing and cool. They were sort of enamored and they were happy taking on the role of being their girlfriends and bringing them food and drinks and being sweet, like almost being like traditional wives. On the other hand, the Barbies had all of the power and all of the wealth, and they didn't care for the Kens at all. They really didn't need Ken to even exist. He meant nothing to them. But when Kens took over Barbie Land and all of a sudden they had everything, you could see that the Barbies, they loved the Kens. They wanted to spend time with them. And even though the movie portrayed that as the women, the Barbies being brainwashed by the Kens, you could see that at that point they were also happy. So what does that tell us about masculine and feminine roles today in the real world? What it tells me, or what it makes me think, is that really a man is most happy and feels most fulfilled when he has something to offer women. And women feel most attracted to a man when he is strong and masculine and has something to offer to her. And it sounds so obvious because these are just traditional gender roles where the man is the protector and the provider and the woman is the nurturer and the caregiver. And I feel like the reason these are traditional gender roles is because this is our truest nature. And the masculine and the feminine are two halves of a whole that come together to make a complete and well-balanced society and a complete and well-balanced relationship. I feel like in the movie, if Ken had always had more to offer to Barbie, she would have loved him, and in turn they would have had more respect for each other. They would have had more to offer each other. He would have been able to protect and provide for her, and she would have been able to love him and inspire him to be his best. But like, what does that mean for men today? I feel like men today are so in their feminine energy. They really are like Ken in the movie, where he's lost in himself. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't feel like he's enough. I feel like for men today to be their absolute best, they need to be more masculine. They need to be working on themselves, working on their career, gaining money, putting themselves into a position where they are able to be good providers and good protectors for a woman. And what does that mean for women? It means, I think, instead of striving so hard to be a girl boss, develop your soft feminine skills more. Maybe learn how to be a better listener, how to love a man more. And I feel like actually if men and women were to sink more into our natural state, our innate feminine and masculine roles, that society would be better overall. Ideally, what I would have wanted for the end of the Barbie movie would have been for Ken to step up and be a better man who wasn't always feeling like he was needing Barbie but never having her. If he could have stepped up to be a real man, and for Barbie to appreciate him for what he really was, and for them to fall in love and live happily ever after. I just feel like that would have been the ideal ending. But here's the major spoiler alert. At the end of the movie, Barbie tells him that he's fine on his own and that she doesn't need him, and they never end up together. And I just feel like that's really sad. But overall, like, other than all of that, I know it seems like I've been really critical of the movie, but my husband and I actually really enjoyed it. The scenery was stunning. The costumes were amazing. Barbie and Ken, and like, it was a very funny, humorous, light-hearted movie. And I know every movie really needs to have like some sort of message, otherwise it means nothing. But I just felt like the feminine and masculine messaging in the movie was just, uh, it wasn't, I didn't, yeah, it didn't hit right. Didn't hit right for me. I just feel like, you know, the Kens could have been more masculine, the Barbies could have been more feminine, and in that ideal world, they could have loved each other. And the world just needs more love. Anyway, have you seen the Barbie movie? What did you think about it? Comment down below. I'd love to hear all of your opinions. If you like this movie, if you liked this video, please hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button and tell me why you didn't like it in the comments down below, because that helps me out with the algorithm too. Thanks guys, I hope you have a great week. Mwah. Bye.